What's up, guys? With the new Crow movie out and everybody adoring it, we're going to rank all 5 movies. So anyway, let's get started with ranking the Crow franchise. What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new ranking. We're going to rank the Crow franchise, which I actually ranked the movies before the new movie, probably like 6 months ago or something like that on Drumdums Xtra. But yeah, we're gonna do it again, and we get to include the new movie, and it'll be fun. And this is the second time I'm recording this because I forgot to freaking hit the audio record on Audacity here. So yeah, but you know what? I was pretty cynical on that last one, so maybe I'll be a little bit more chipper on this one, right? So anyway, yeah, let's dive into the ranking. We're going to start with number 5, and that's going to be Wicked Prayer. I've only watched this movie one time. That was enough. And it is horrible. It's atrocious. You have some big stars in this, like Dennis Hopper, David Boreanaz, and of course, Edward Furlong playing the Crow, looking like he is completely lost in this movie. Like, what the hell am I doing here? I think this is the movie that's the closest to the original in terms of the makeup, but the farthest from the original in terms of quality. It's just absolutely horrible. It's unintentionally hilarious at times, which is crazy. It feels unfinished. It feels very far removed from the rest of the franchise or the movies before it. It doesn't have like that epic goth soundtrack. It looks like it takes place in the West or like Nevada or something like that. Everything about this movie just feels really, really off, and it feels like they shot this movie on a weekend, and they barely had any time. And let's see what comes out, right? It doesn't feel like blood, sweat, tears, and love went into this movie at all, and it's just horrible. So yeah, Wicked Prayer, number 5. Okay, let's go number 4. I'm gonna go with Salvation. And I'll say from here on out, number 4, 3, and 2, I think they're all pretty close for different reasons. But this one right here, I would actually put it above City of Angels in some aspects because I think the story's tighter. I think the acting is much better than City of Angels. But the overall quality of the movie feels like a TV movie. Some of the villains are a little cartoony in it. And also the little love, like the flashbacks between Eric Mabius and his love interest, who was actually in H2O, Halloween H2O. I'm not saying their acting's bad, but it does come off as really, really cheesy. Like there was no thought into the script, those scripted scenes. It felt like they just like showed up on a day and said, hey, act like you love each other. And maybe spin around in circles or something like that. And that's what they did. So, yeah. Soundtrack is excellent for this movie, though. And Eric Mabius, I don't mind him. I think he goes hard for the theatrical, and I think he could have used some better like production, like cinematography and lighting behind him to prop him up. But there's some really cool scenes in this movie for sure. Okay, number 3, I'm gonna go with City of Angels, and I hated this movie when I first saw it. But it has really grown on me over the years, especially with the legend of the director's cut, which will probably never see the light of day. And there is a director's cut, but it's not really the director's cut. All it is like a couple of minutes of extra scenes that were released, as a promotion when the movie came out on like VHS. Yeah, the true director's cut, I believe, is supposed to be like 20 minutes longer or something like that. And you check out Good Bad Flicks video on it. It's very informative. But yeah, it's a shame because we'll never know how good this movie could have been. Although I can say a lot of the villains in this movie, again, very cartoony. I think the first movie finds that fine line with the villains of making them very memorable but not making them kind of cheesy. Whereas this movie, it's definitely a hard R. It almost goes a little bit too far at times, trying to be edgy. But yeah, there's some horrible, horrible acting in this movie, especially by Iggy Pop, who was originally going to be Fun Boy. Thank God that didn't happen because Every scene with Iggy Pop in this movie, I don't want to say every scene. He gets better as it goes along, but man, he's not an actor, and he doesn't do a really good job acting in this at all. But I like Vincent Perez. I think Vincent Perez, he went a different route with the character, although he looks very similar to Brandon Lee in the movie, but his acting, his performance is much more like theatrical. And he has some shining moments, some really cool moments too, like in the nightclub, when he's got his arms out and everything. There's just a lot of cool like shots in this movie, but overall, there's a better edit in there for sure. The director's cut is sorely missed. I'll just say that. I wish we could see that. Number 2 is going to be the new movie, The Crow. And boy, I tell you, the internet is really, really pissed off at this movie. And it definitely has major problems. But I can't not acknowledge the potential in this movie. I think Bill Skarsgård pours his heart and soul into this role. And you know what? I have to give Rupert Sanders credit for trying something completely different than the original movie, because, when all's said and done, do you want a pretty much a carbon copy of what the original was? No. I'm not saying this movie's phenomenal or anything. I'm just saying I like that they tried something different, even story-wise. And there are some greatness in this movie. I think that freaking opera scene near the end, you want violence? Oh my God, it's there and then some. I was really into Bill Skarsgård's performance in this movie, though. I think he really wanted to make his mark on the character while not, feeling like Brandon's character, and I don't think he is. He's very different than Brandon. But I actually liked the relationship between Eric and Shelley in this. I do think they spent way too long on them, and I do think all the coverage is there, but I think there's a much better edit. This might be the worst edited movie of the year. I think it is. So I think there's just so much potential, and it's still, to me, the second best Crow movie, for sure. Before I go number 1, which we all know the original is going to be number 1, I will say, I mentioned recently that the movie Revenge from 2017, I always consider it like an unofficial Crow movie because the plot is exactly the same as a Crow movie. She is pretty much killed for dead in the movie. The way she is killed, in your mind, you're like, oh yeah, she's definitely dead. She's got to be. And she comes back and she gets revenge on these guys, much like a crow would. And she even has a freaking, like a bird tattooed or burned in her stomach that looks like a crow. So yeah, it's not a Crow movie, but the influence is definitely there, and it's the exact same plot. So there's your female Crow movie if you're looking for one. And if that movie was a Crow movie, it would be number 2. It is phenomenal, really great revenge flick. Okay, so number 1, of course, The Crow, starring Brandon Lee, and I can't talk about this movie without feeling sad. As great as it is, I was just watching this brand new documentary on E! That's on YouTube that just dropped, I think, like a few days ago. Watched it yesterday. It's like 20 minutes long, and it's just remembering Brandon Lee and the accident that happened and the bright future ahead of him and how he was going to get married, and he could have been in so many big roles. And I didn't even know like George Clooney was like such a big fan of Brandon Lee's, and ever since that accident happened, he's always taken extra steps anytime he sees a gun on set, And I guess the good thing about The Crow is it did raise awareness for accidents on sets. And yes, we had Alec Baldwin, that incident happened, but we probably would have had a lot more if not for what happened to Brandon. But man, yeah, it's a shame, and it really just, it's a gut punch every time I think about what his career could have been. But man, that movie is just so good. You can just feel the heart and soul in it. Brandon, luckily, this being his last performance, man, he just gave it his all in this movie, and he was phenomenal. So Brandon, you are sorely, sorely missed. So anyway, guys, that is my ranking for the Crow franchise. Let me know down in the comments your ranking. I'm looking forward to seeing them. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. On Fridays, we do Free for Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on my socials. Support me on Patreon. Buy me coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day, and Drumdum out.